So it's a bit cold up here. Please let me know if you hear what I'm saying, because I'm trying out a couple new mic or new setup. So it's about minus, oh great Martin, thank you. So it's about -4, but with a wind chill it's probably closer to -10, something like that. There's quite a lot of wind here. It's 10 meters per second, the forecast, but I think it's probably near 20 something here up here in the bell tower. So it's a pretty chilly day in Reykjavik. Great to hear about the sound. I was putting a muffler or it's called a dead cat or dead mouse on the mic to make the wind not as so the wind is grabbing my gimbal and it's a bit hard to talk. I'm outside a bar here with the bars here that are covering the windows. Hi Sandra and Susan and Karen. Yeah, like I said, it's a bit cold today. I'm gonna try to manage squeeze my yeah, it's a bit cold, but we walk in any weather. This is indoor weather, perfect indoor weather in the wind chill is. Do you see Mount Keilir in the middle there? Like Mount Doom from Lord of the Rings. So I'm inside the Hallgrímskirkja church, the biggest church in Iceland, and unfortunately they have a wedding which they didn't announce anywhere. They didn't tell me when I asked for permission to go and shoot, and so I can't go inside the church itself, so it's a kind of a bummer. Have to make sure that I don't drop the gimbal. So that's the sculpture house of Einar Jónsson. We're gonna go there on the 10th of February, check out his artwork and his garden is actually quite beautiful. You could go there free of charge when you go to Reykjavik. So if you go for Hallgrímskirkja, there's a perfect walk to go there. But I just want to show you. So see this building? So this was the only building that was standing here on this hill for a long time. This house was built in 1923, and only house that stood here on the hill, skål over the hill. No snowing, asked Cheng. No snowing. There's only been a couple of days of snow in Reykjavik, but to the north it's much worse. Or worse, there's snow over there. So I'm gonna squeeze again. So here on top of me are the 3 bells of the church tower. The names of the bells is Hallgrímur, named after the clergyman, which the church bears his name after. Hallgrímur, his wife Gudríður, and their daughter Steinun. So the church bells, the 3 church bells, bear the names of the family members. So that's Perlan, the pearl, where we went for the wonders of Iceland. I'm not sure if I'm talking too loud because there's a lot of wind here, and yeah. So just let me know if I'm talking too loud, then I will lower my voice a little bit. As I said, it's quite cold today. Quite chilly. So again, squeeze. Whoop. It's very windy in Reykjavik actually, like it's 10 meters per second, like the forecast, but it's worse than that. So now I'm gonna face the wind. So now I'm facing north. Mount Esja is to the north of Reykjavik. It's great to hear about the wind because here I can barely hear myself. The wind is gushing here through the tower. So you have to pay like, I think it's 900 kronos, Icelandic kronos, so it's like $7 or $8, something like that, entry fee, 7 euros, 6 euros. Lane. And if I lose contact with you guys, then here's the clock. Thank you, Tercy, but I'm used to this. Even though I get a little bit cold for a little bit while, I get used to it. So this church is named after this guy called Hallgrímur Pétursson. Hallgrímur Pétursson. And he's most known for his hymns of passion. And so of course they are always reciting these hymns of passion before Easter every year. There are about 50 verses, and I just want to tell you about this Gudríður, his wife Gudríður Símonardóttir. She's a really she got really famous because she was one of the people that were stolen from Westman Islands. You know, if you went with me on the guided tour to Westman Islands. So you see the end of the church. Then there was a robbery or a couple of pirates that raided the Westman Islands and more places here in Iceland. And she was one of the people taken. And there's a book about her voyages, her story, and it's quite a interesting read, how she got back. So here's a little story about about Christianity in Iceland. So Iceland was settled in the 9th century, and most of the settlers worshipped Odin and Thor and Freya and the Norse gods. But because of pressure from the Norwegian king, we basically switched to Christianity here in year 1000. And or Catholicism. And then around 50-50 we switched to Lutheran. And the Norwegian king at the time, or Danish king at the time, sorry, he beheaded the last Catholic bishop and switched to Lutherans, basically because the power and the influence of the Catholic Church was so great here. They had amassed about 25%, 1/4 of the land and property in Iceland. So the king, as we were a Danish colony at the time, didn't like that at all. So he basically just said, no, we're going to switch to Lutheranism, and that was the end of that. So here's a little bit of story about the church itself. So Gudjon Samuelsen, the state architect, designed this church. He designed it in 1937, but they didn't start to build this until 1945. And they didn't finish it until 1986, so 41 years it took to build this. And this is still the biggest church in Iceland, houses 1,200 people. And as I said, still used for some weddings and funerals, but not a very, because it's so big, you need to have a. And yeah, the design is based on this unique design of. So it was supposed to look like a mountain that was behind the farm that Hallgrímskirkja, the poet, was born in, and also these basalt, columnar basalt formations, these formations here, and then of course we have the glaciers here melting or breaking down. Angie, are church services happening? Yes, they are, but under strict guidelines about how many people can attend. There is actually quite a story about Is the video stopping on your end, guys? I see Lori is complaining that the video is stopping. Is that happening on your end? Am I getting disconnected? So there's quite a story about when we changed from paganism or the belief in the Old Norse gods to Catholicism. That like the chief of the parliament at the time, called Þorgeir, he was called the law speaker. He believed in the old pagans, but after a night where he was pondering it, he came back and said, okay, we're going to switch, but we're going to have 3 exemptions. We're going to still be able to worship the old gods in secrecy, so basically keep on worshiping if you just didn't tell anybody about it. We could eat horse meat, which was banned in Catholicism at the time, but here if a horse died, everything was used. And the third exemption was that if we could still carry out our children or the old to die if we didn't like to fend for them. Can you imagine that? So if you didn't have enough money or food to fend for the whole family, you would basically just be allowed to, say goodbye. You have to take care of yourself. These exemptions, of course, faded in just a couple of years or decades, but it's funny that these are the exemptions. We're going to switch, but we have three things that we need to have for Iceland. So there are not many people that know, but this was actually like the entryway to Reykjavik, this small hill or skóla over the Hostið. So people would pass here when they were going into Reykjavik, and there was actually a woman buried here on this hill in the beginning of the 18th century, a murderer. There's actually a book about this, about these murders. So there are a couple of people murdered, a man and a woman, and the book is called Blackbird by Gunnar Gunnarsson. Blackbird by Gunnar Gunnarsson. So it tells this basically story about this 2 farming families that lived on the same plot of land. One of the families harvested half of the land and the other half, and the man in one of the families and the woman in the other, they started to, look at each other fondly, and eventually they killed their spouses. And people figured out what they did. That they had killed them, and they were brought in chains to the old prison, now the office of the Prime Minister downtown. And she finally died there in the prison, and she was buried here on the hill, close to Leifur Eiríksson. And And when people were walking past her grave, because she couldn't be buried in hallowed ground, so she was not buried in a graveyard, they were like throwing stones at her grave and spitting and just like cursing, because it was considered a bad omen, of course, about that murderer. And so she was buried here, and it wasn't until when they started to build the export harbor of Reykjavik, 1913, 1917, so that when Reykjavik became a harbor, became an export harbor, they excavated stones from this hill, from Skólavörðuholt hill, and then also the Pearl Hill, the Öskjuhlíð, and there were a couple of train tracks from here lying down to the harbor, and they came upon her grave, and they decided to bury her inside the graveyard at that time. And her grave here, was called Stenkudis. Yes, harsh. I can agree with you with that, Julie. So check out Blackbird, the book by Gunnar Gunnarsson about these events. Gunnar Gunnarsson. Debbie, I'll write it down in the comments after the tour. So guys, I'm going into the elevator. If I get disconnected, I will connect again outside. And you know the drill. I'll be back if I get disconnected. Then I'll just connect again, and so we'll see what happens if I get disconnected here. Hi Julie, yes, Blackbird by Gunnar Gunnarsson, yes, actually, right. So Julie Smith just posted the book about these events, the murders of 7th River, Sjöunda Á. So the man was killed by, he killed him by throwing him over a cliff, I believe, or that was the story, but maybe you're still with me? So, they are getting wedded. This is probably a shotgun wedding. Birna and Hannes, their wedding is now in session. Are you back with me? Alrighty, welcome back. So the door is made and the pulpits are designed by an artist called Leifur Breiðfjörð. And quite cool. It says, "Come to me," on the door, and you walk into God's house. Yes. It's a bit hard to translate this. My mind is not working optimally today. I had a little bit too many beers yesterday, but that's another story. So that's Leif the Lucky, of course the discoverer of North America long before Christopher Columbus. He got his nickname the Lucky because he saved at least 2 shipwrecked people. No, it happened twice. We basically were saving people that were in need, and so he was lucky for others. And yeah, according to the legend, to the Icelandic sagas, he discovered probably Newfoundland and went probably as far as New York. So this statue was given to us by Sterling Calder, or was made by Sterling Calder and was given us by the United States, 1930. So this is the son of Eric the Red, probably the greatest marketeer ever. The guy that sold Greenland to 40 ships full of Icelanders that went with him and thought they were going for greener pastures than Iceland, and of course were just stranded on an iceberg. I'm actually arriving into a part of the Viking TV series. They are finishing up that TV series, and yeah, and Ube has arrived in North America. They're changing the history a little bit, but I'm looking forward to see what kind of a light art installation they're gonna put outside this building or the church on the 6th of February when we have the Light Festival here. Maybe you've seen the video where I recorded last year's, which was just unbelievable. Like glaciers melting or breaking down outside the... It's 73 meters high, this church. So at the time when it was built, it was the highest building in Iceland. As said, they built it in installations, so they took a while to build it, 41 years, and maybe you saw my post earlier today about the design of Guðjón Samúelsson. He was thinking about building a Taj Mahal kind of structure, church. That was his original design, 1924. I think he designed it like this. And the buildings surrounding the church were supposed to be like it was supposedly be like the culture center of Iceland and Reykjavik, of course. So the art gallery, the library, and all these buildings were supposed to. So can you imagine if the church looked like that? The entry of the priests. So we're of course a Lutheran nation. Like 70% of the Icelandic population is automatically registered to be part of the Lutheran congregation. But you can switch at any time. We are very open about religion, and the government pays a little bit of money for every person that's registered for your faith or your. And the Catholic Church is growing here steadily. There are many Polish people moving to Iceland, so they are mainly Catholics. So the Catholic Church is growing, and yeah, like I said, it's very unfortunate that they didn't tell me about this wedding that was happening, so I can't go with you inside. There's a beautiful how many are pagan or believe in the faith of Ásar. I'm actually a member of that congregation or faith of Ásar because I am a history nerd. I like to support them. I like my government money to go towards a temple that they are trying to build. There are about 5,000 people, Star. That's the answer to your question. 5,000 people registered to the faith of Ásar today. And if you want to buy me a coffee or beer, that's I said Jill was writing something about that. You can go for buymeacoffee.com and Friend Reykjavik, or my PayPal if you want to support these live streams. And as I said, that's the only house that was standing here. 1923, long before the church was built, like 1945. So 22 years later, or when they started to build this. And I'll do a later one. Like I said, this is. Okay, the wind here, if I cross is a little bit, and it's a little bit too much. Hi guys. Yeah, so we have a whole lot of tours coming up. Hopefully you will join me for some of them. Every Wednesday, basically at 2 p.m. GMT, something like that. I'm gonna do something, do some kind of tour, and then on Saturday, it depends a little bit on where I'm going. How I'm trying to keep it late, so maybe 4, but sometimes I have to start 3. This time I had to start 1 because the church closes at 2 p.m. So I thought I would be a little bit earlier, but then they had this wedding going on, so that there are a whole lot of things that you can't count on, or And please share this with your friends. I'm gonna, if we continue to grow and people are supporting, I will do this until COVID is over. Cafe Loki is unfortunately closed. I think still a lot of restaurants are closed because of COVID, unfortunately. I'm going to give you one more viewpoint of the church, because there's a, so for you photographers over here, yeah, we're going to check this out on the 10th of February, the Einar Jónsson Sculpture Museum. It's a beautiful museum, and I'm going to have my guide Barði with me. He's going to help me out then. And then we have a beer tasting on 27th of February, celebrating. So something for you photographers. You can use this motif for some fun. And please send me any ideas for more tours. I have a whole lot of lists going on. Some ideas for you. And I'm sure that we will have a little bit of I'll surprise you with a couple of things, because I'm lining up. But I was talking about checking out the garden here. So when you go for the church, when you eventually are able to travel to Iceland, you can go here in free of charge. And if you're in the summertime, you can maybe picnic here. But this is a lovely little garden, a lovely little pearl oasis here in the middle of Reykjavik. So that's my parting view, guys. So remember, I'm on YouTube. If you want to check out, I like my guided tour about the Westman Islands. It was fun. Did you see that? And of course, my Instagram. I sometimes post pictures there that are not found on Facebook or anywhere else. And yeah. And of course, my Patreon, if you want to be part of that group, I'm going to try to post some exclusive photos, do some Q&As just with those guys that are my patrons. And Eva, I actually have an idea about that, doing for knitters, like a tour of some kind of a wool industry or wool. And I'll check that out for you. So guys, takk fyrir mig. I'm gonna switch the little bit of a sun, a little bit of good to have a little bit of a sun rays on your face with all the wind biting your bites. So já, takk fyrir mig. Sjáumst á miðvikudaginn. On Wednesday we'll be again. We're gonna go for the, I forget, the Settlement Museum? I don't remember. See you then.